dates very soon.
Yeah, we live in the great state of Texas, so
I know
it may take. Wait a minute. Maybe it'll reach Texas on Juneteenth, June 19th. They'll realize that's a good time to take and do that.
2025. No, and I'm glad that our time is winding down, but I'm glad we can end on this note because I don't want I think part of the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is not just to put the conversation out there, but I think we have to continue to think about policy change and think about social change. What I'm about to say may sound a little crazy to the listeners, but I have to believe that the stress and structure and systems that we have around parenting and working and disconnecting from our families and kids is showing up in how our children are suffering in terms of their mental well-being, in terms of all the violence that we're seeing, right. and even if it's bullying and not even the extreme, I think there's got to be some real socio-emotional fallout that we're starting to see or that we are witnessing. That policy has to start to change and has to start to happen because. It is a value of mine, and I think a value of all of ours. Like, we don't want to offset our child rearing to someone else. Like, we want to be able to socialize our children and into our own values and our world views of being inclusive and thinking about equity and social justice. And you can't do that when they're not with you. Right. And about being compassionate and being self-compassionate and all of the wonderful pieces you talked about earlier in terms, Ayanna, in terms of like being able to cultivate a sense of imagination and magic and wonder. Like, all of those pieces make a much more rounded out, stable, healthy, loving individual. But you can't do that if you're disconnected from them physically and exhausted emotionally at the end of the day when you do get a chance to connect with them.
Right. Absolutely.
I would envision, ladies, that we may want to have this conversation again in some way, shape, or form. I so enjoyed it. I appreciate your time and your energy in contributing to my podcast today. I'm look forward to having maybe each of you on in different ways to maybe talk more about your own work and other things as our podcast develops and grows. So I hope you all have a lovely rest of the Friday afternoon. Tomas, we appreciate your presence in our conversation, and I appreciate your knowing that your voice probably would not contribute significantly to the conversation.
Well, I disagree. I do have 2 cats, and it's really hard to find a sitter, right? Sometimes I use Friskies. Sometimes I use Purina treats. No, but I do want to seriously say something, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I want to thank each and every single one of you ladies here today. This conversation is important. I sat back and I listened, I learned, and I hope that any of the men listening took notes. Because the one thing I find in this society that we, as men, utilizing our cisgender privilege, love to do is tell women what they need based on our experience, in quotes, I say that. It's important, and I said it before, I'll say it again. If you consider yourself a feminist and you are a cisgender male, what feminism means is being able to stand in solidarity with your sisters when required and shut the boop up when it is necessary. And today was a day for me to shut up. Yeah. And I thank you for allowing me to be a part of that process.
Awesome. We appreciate you as well. You're going to continue to talk to the men's out there who need.
I don't be messing with them like that. No. So.
Oh my goodness! Thank you, ladies, again. Thanks everybody for listening to Doopy Deep with Dr. Nikki. You guys have a lovely afternoon. And Tomas, I will see you or talk to you, podcast with you next week.
Next week it
Sounds
is.
Good. All right. Peace.
Bye.